Hey guys, I'm Reagan. I work in finance.
And I'm Tristan. I also work in finance.
And this is Working Late. So if you are grinding through a long day or a late night, we're here to keep you company and remind you why it's all worth it.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Okay, so obviously we have a very special guest today. This is my husband, Tristan. So we're going to talk a lot about you today. But I also wanted to flag for everyone, so it is April 26th. And so obviously the tax deadline is over. Jordan is done with that. But I did want to let you guys know she has been on bed rest for the past couple of weeks. She's kind of been in and out of the hospital. And it seems like the babies are going to come a little bit earlier than expected. So she's fine right now. The babies are fine. But just keep her and her family in your thoughts and prayers. And yeah. Oh, and leave some encouraging comments or emails for her to look through while she's in the hospital this week. Hopefully we will have babies by the end of the week, but we'll keep you updated and we'll let you guys know. Anyways, Tristan, thank you so much for being here this week.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So tell us, what do you do for work?
Yeah, I'm another FP&A analyst in this household. I do the similar tasks that Reagan does, and I've been doing it for 3 weeks.
Nice. So tell us, how did you get here? What has your career progression been? Maybe let's start back in college.
Yeah, back in college, I graduated with a business administration degree. I interned once at a heavy machinery company, and I enjoyed my internship a lot. It was an operations process improvement focused internship.
Right.
Really wanted to pursue that again. However, it didn't work out when I was hired back onto that company in, I think that was 2021.
Yeah.
And the guy who hired me left after 3 months to pursue his dream job. And I love that for him. But unfortunately for me, that just meant nobody at the company was there to backfill that process improvement role. But anyways, that led me to my next job, which was a pricing focused job. And I realized 1 or 2 years in that the ceiling was pretty low as far as career progression and how the company wanted to advance people. They had their way of doing it, and that's fine. Not here to judge that. I just wanted something more. I never am satisfied just being complacent. And so I wanted to go into more of a finance focused field. I didn't know exactly what that was. I went and pursued my MBA, and I am one project and one test away from completing it.
Yeah, hold on. Today is Sunday.
Yeah.
You are going to be done. Your final is next Saturday. So we have 6 days left. And I say we. I know that I know that you are getting your MBA, but I am so ready for you to graduate and be done and have all of your attention back.
Yeah, you've been hinting at that for a while.
For about 2 years now, probably, yeah.
Subtle hints, but hints no less.
Oh, yeah, and also you have a 4.0 and you're at the top of your class.
Yeah, so. you sent that out on the graduation party invitations, and I didn't know that till yesterday.
We have to let everybody know. You guys, if y'all had known him in undergrad, you would know what a major accomplishment this is. Yeah, Tristan had a lot of fun in college, probably a lot more fun than I did.
4-year degree in 6 years.
Which worked out.
Don't recommend it.
It worked out perfectly because we are 2 years apart in age, so then we graduated at the same time. Really, it was great. I know you were just planning for that.
Had you in mind.
that kind of segues us into our quote for the week, which is something that we both kind of live by. We say all the time, which is live life in crescendo. And I know that you wanted to talk about your Working Late boost, so those are kind of related if you want to go into that.
Yeah, so my Working Late boost is a book titled The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, who also authored Live Life in Crescendo. But it's a good book on principles and how to base your life on principles more so than just feelings and whether you feel like doing something or not. Instead, your principles drive you to do whatever needs to get done.
Yeah, so I would say, when I met you in college, I was already a pretty ambitious person, right? And so were you. But I feel like you're the person who kind of brought the idea to my life that I was more in control of my life. I very much operated as though things happened to me And I feel like you're really the person who taught me that that's not quite true. And Stephen Covey talks a lot about that.
Yeah, he talks about how to be an independent individual in the world, you need to be proactive. And I've just always taken that and ran with it because
Yeah, you have.
Otherwise things control you, and I refuse to let that happen. So I am in control. I'm proactive, and it's worked out so far.
Yeah, and he even goes into just like the way you speak about things. Instead of like I have to go to work, it's I get to go to work. Or
Yeah. People who are proactive say I get to. They never say I have to do this, because that means that's not a very proactive statement. And it's not the same thing as those people that walk around saying that I'm super wealthy or I have $1 million even though they're flat broke. It's not the same. It's just rephrasing and reframing how you approach everyday life.
Yeah, it's really just more about like having a positive outlook too. Which again, when you met me, probably not how you would have described me.
Yeah.
But definitely how I try to be today.
Yeah, a positive outlook's a choice.
Yeah, for sure.
You can have a negative outlook, and that's also a choice. So I just choose to have a positive one.
Yeah, I think my favorite principle from the book is to begin with the end in mind. That's from that book, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That is something that I feel like I still have to actively think about doing all the time. Even if it's something at work, like if I'm trying to get something done, just thinking about, what do I want this outcome to look like? What do I want the outcome to be? And then what is step one of that? Or if I need to send someone an email, it's not so much about let me just do this simple task by sending this email. It's more about let me build this relationship. Let me begin thinking about what the end of my career here is going to look like and how to get there, starting with this simple email to a person,
Absolutely. I've actually reduced the number of phone calls I make because of that same principle. Just, do I need to make a phone call to execute this idea I have, or can I just email it?
Or can you just do it?
Can I just do it? Can I take control? And it's you're much more kind to people and their time when you're beginning with the end in mind, because you're acting with intention instead of just, that's a nice idea, let me just act on that idea. It's taking a step back and saying, what do I want this to look like? What end result do I want? And then doing the steps from there to achieve that result. Yeah,
or if you ever have to have like a candid conversation at work with a coworker or with like a manager, like obviously that's never a fun situation. But if you go into it thinking about what do you want the result to be and what are you hoping to get out of it and what's the best way to approach this conversation in order to make that happen, I think that goes a long way. And I think it's remarkable the amount of times I hear about people just like going in and completely ruining that whole concept, just, I don't know, complaining all the time and not being very productive.
Yeah, I don't really try to associate myself with complainers.
Yeah.
If I do come across one, I'm just like, I don't usually give them the time of day, because that's their prerogative, not mine. And I'm going to have a good day, and I'm not going to let somebody else just weigh it down.
Yeah, and negativity is a choice.
That's right. Everything's a choice.
But I also wanted to talk about career confessionals today. So I brought one today, and this is something that you were there for.
Yeah, I didn't witness it, but I was...
No, you witnessed part of it.
Part of it, but yeah.
Okay, so let me take you back to 2021. We graduated college, and then I think in like September, so just a few months after graduating, my office decided to go on a trip to Vegas, which was amazing. It was just like a fun trip to celebrate last year's success. If you heard the episode where we talked about Miami, similar concept, same type of trip, this time to Vegas. And so first night, there's a party for the whole office and our plus ones, open bar, no food. So that was amazing. And also, like, just think about, this is consulting. It's it's a bunch of like young men straight from the frat, to be frank.
Bunch of frat bros.
Yeah. A bunch of like classic finance bros. And then there was an altercation at the party. I have asked about this so many times. I still don't know exactly what happened. All I know is I saw someone get slapped, and then I saw someone crying. The girl who got slapped, I saw her crying in the bathroom. Still not 100% sure what that was about. And then the guy, if you listen to a couple episodes ago, the guy who stole the pie from the office fridge, he was like, he couldn't keep his eyes open. That was hilarious. So this is all just happening, and we're just kind of like witnessing it. Anyways, so obviously we had an office poker tournament afterwards at a different casino down the strip, and this is the first night there, so nobody really knows their way around. And this one girl, we're kind of walking in a group of people to the other casino for the poker tournament. This one girl is getting so annoyed with everyone because nobody will follow her directions, and she's like, you guys, I'm from here. I'm from the West Coast. And you're like, oh, super cool. Like, you're from Vegas? You know, just trying to be nice, have a conversation. And she's like, yeah, basically. And you're like, oh, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I'm from California.
Yeah, and also Vegas is not the West Coast.
It's certainly not California.
There is no coast in Vegas, like in Nevada. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so we just start cracking up because we're like, oh, so you're completely not from here.
Like, if you say I know Vegas because I used to come here a lot, cool. Don't tell me you're from Vegas, basically.
And so therefore, like, you know your way around. By the way, she did not know her way around. Nobody did.
And this was the individual that administered the slap to the other coworker, I think.
I wasn't even going to mention that, but yeah, it was. So hilarious night. Moral of the story, if you ever get the chance to go on an office trip, you absolutely have to go. We've been to Vegas, Miami, New York. Mm-hmm. I think New York was the last one we went on, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, we decided to skip the next one after that. And then I think they just went back to Vegas, so I'll have to check in and see if anything else happened this year.
Yeah, it's good times. Something interesting has always happened.
Yes.
At these events.
There's nothing better than an open bar and no food.
And a bunch of frat people.
Yeah. Okay, so we can move into our hot takes now. And so if you guys listened to the last episode, this is when I wanted to get Ryan's opinion on it last week. Now I want to get your opinion on it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you'll agree with me or not. My opinion is that anyone of like average intelligence can do any job with a little bit of training. And it might be a week of training, or it might be a few weeks of training. It might be a year of training. But I think, yeah, anyone can do any job.
I think any job is a stretch.
Okay.
I don't think anybody with average intelligence can become a Navy SEAL. I think there's some physical requirements there.
Okay.
I don't think that
I might agree with
a few months of training could become a nuclear scientist.
Oh, I think you could.
I just don't think so. I think that requires a lot of years of school.
Really?
Yeah. They wouldn't trust me to calculate all the stuff that needs to be calculated.
Not today.
But in a few months?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh, you think I can learn nuclear physics in a month? Yeah, or a couple months?
I believe in you.
That's insane.
You know what? Believe in yourself. Be proactive.
I'm being practical right now. Okay,
the Navy SEAL, I have to agree with you on that one, because I think you have to be able to carry like 2 grown men, right, to pass that. And objectively at 5 foot, 100 pounds, like that's not going to be me.
I mean, that amongst other things. Like,
oh, like what?
I feel like you have to be able to run several miles.
I can do that.
You know, which you can, yeah. And then immediately swim several miles. And they put you through horrible stuff in training, which isn't even really training. They're just trying to weed you out. I just don't think jobs like that are up for the average intelligent person.
Okay, Navy SEAL, sure. But like, let's think white collar jobs. I think I could do any white collar job. Give me a few months. I'll even take it a step further. Like,
I think you could, but I think you're above average intelligence.
Oh, that is so sweet of you.
You know, I've worked with people who have been at jobs for years and they never got it.
Okay.
So I don't know if I buy that.
How hard were they trying?
It doesn't matter. They're average. They're of average intelligence.
I'm talking about somebody who's like trying and motivated and driven to learn.
You didn't preface that. You just said anybody.
Okay, I'll even take it a step further than white collar jobs. My brother's a doctor, like a physician, whatever. Give me a few months, I could do his job. How many years?
That's
so
insane.
He did 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school. I don't even know how far he is into his residency. I think he's like 4 years into his 6-year residency right now. Is that right?
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't think all that was necessary. Because he does like the same surgeries over and over again.
Well, here's what I will say about that.
Okay.
I am very grateful that you're not going to be my doctor because I want the guy who's been through a lot of training and schooling to be my doctor, or if they're going to slice me open, you know, I want the guy that's most qualified for that, not just some person with a couple months of training that thinks they know the job.
I understand what you're saying. I totally get it. If I'm the person receiving the surgery, I'm with you.
Yeah.
If I'm the person performing the surgery, I just don't think it takes that much. I don't think most jobs actually require a 4-year degree, much less a master's. I think you have to have the degree to get your foot in the door, but it's not actually like required to teach you what you need to know.
Yeah, I think your company for a long time made every consultant or anybody that had a consultant title on up have a college degree, right? And have a certain number of accounting hours, and they checked your transcripts.
And GPA.
And that wasn't because very few people could do the consulting work. Mm-hmm. That was just because they wanted to slim down the job pool, the applicant pool. Yeah.
For sure.
I think they've relaxed on that policy since, but I agree there's like several high-collar jobs there's several white-collar jobs out there that anybody could really do, but they need to, there's qualifications and barriers on purpose, but not any job.
Okay, so I don't know if you agree with me or not.
I think white-collar, I could be convinced if it was outside of the science and engineering space.
Really?
And mathematics space.
Really? You don't think a woman in STEM like me?
A woman in STEM? I don't know if you can be considered in STEM anymore.
I've always claimed in STEM because, hear me out. When I worked in consulting, it was all like oil and gas based. We live in Houston. And the things I was doing at that job had absolutely nothing to do with finance. It was like I designed a gas plant at one point, optimized for financial savings, but still I'm like in the engineering software every day. I had to model out like offshore platforms all the time.
And what do you do now?
Well, okay.
I'm just saying.
You know what? There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of math. There's a lot of addition, subtraction.
Most of the math, though. I'm just saying. Like,
look, once a woman in STEM, always a woman in STEM.
At one point you were. Not so much now.
Okay, well, this is progress, because when I was a woman in STEM, in consulting, you would never admit that I was a woman in STEM. So I'm glad we at least gotten here.
Your head would get too big if I did. I had to, as a husband, just make sure we were all balanced and on the same page.
Okay, as a husband, I think maybe we should be more proactive.
I was being very proactive those days.
Okay, well, anyways, when it comes to engineering math, I could absolutely learn those jobs. Give me a few months.
All right, I want you to sign up for like some engineering math courses.
Okay. I have no desire to do that, but I'm just saying I could.
All right.
Think about our friends who are engineers.
I guess we'll live in the hypothetical for a few years.
Okay, think about our friends who are engineers. You do not think I could do their job?
Well, not right now.
Not right now, but give me a few months.
I don't think you could do it in a few months.
I could do it in a few months.
I don't think so.
I could. And I think you could too, to be fair.
I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Okay. Well, anyways, that kind of segues into like the next thing I wanted to talk about. So instead of doing like our typical listener corner this week, I kind of just wanted to talk to you about your MBA and like what caused you to pursue your MBA, and do you think it was worth it? And yeah.
So to answer the last question, I do think it was worth it. But backtracking from there, like I said earlier, realized pretty quickly there was a pretty low ceiling at the last company I worked at. And I really liked that company. They had a great work environment. You know, I worked from home 4 days a week and only had to go into the office once a week, and everybody was really nice, and, you know, it was a great company.
It was comfortable.
It was very comfortable. But I just, there were people there that worked their whole lives, their whole careers out of college there, or just worked their way up from high school. And it's located in a small Pennsylvania town, so that's why people did that. But I'm just not wired that way. I have to feel like I'm progressing and chasing something to feel satisfied, and I needed to, you know, as we talked about earlier, take a proactive approach and just assess my qualifications. I realized that with finance, you have more control of the overall strategic approach that a company takes, and it's a faster way for your input to be heard at the C-suite level. And so I knew I needed immediate experience starting there.
Okay.
And with my background, I did not have the qualifications necessary to become a finance professional.
Okay.
So that's why I pursued my MBA.
Right. And why did you decide to go into FP&A specifically? Because that's what I do. Did I inspire you, or was it just kind of a coincidence that you ended up here?
I'd say a little of both. When I was going through my MBA and starting to look for jobs, I was really interested in FP&A, mainly because I figured I could start understanding the income statements, the balance sheets, and how the money flows within a company and how things are reported on, and get that good basic background, and then go into another field. I'm still very interested to this day in corporate development and M&A. I would love to get a job in one of those fields sometime. But I figured I could start out in FP&A and get a good basis background and pursue those goals in 2, 3, 4, however many years.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great starting point. And the great thing about FP&A is like you can start here and then learn skills and branch off, or you can start here and stay here forever and end up at CFO. So do you want to talk a little bit about like what are your career goals and why did you choose finance?
Yeah, so there's a guy who goes to our church who owns a fractional CFO company, and ever since I learned about the type of work he does and what a fractional CFO does, which a brief explanation of it is you contract out CFO services to smaller and medium-sized companies that either don't want to or can't afford to hire a CFO, full-time CFO. And so he's been on retainer for several different types and industries of companies in the Houston area. He's worked for he was the CFO for a maritime company, and he's also worked for a major civil engineering company. And he just stays on retainer for them. He also integrated 4 businesses into one family office as a project-based fee. I just think there's so many dynamic ways you can serve the market that way. And so going back to me, I realized I don't like doing the same things over and over again. I think having a dynamic job specifically owning my own company where I'm serving the market in that way is very appealing and attractive to me. And that's also why I started FP&A as well, because I knew 10 years from now having a good background in FP&A would be essential to becoming a CFO and later a fractional CFO.
Yeah. And I think it's a great goal. I think that would be such a great career for you. because you are like very project based. And yeah, I think looking at Chris, our friend, he seems to really love what he does, and he's been such a great mentor to you, which is amazing. Shout out Chris if you're listening. But yeah, I would recommend to anybody like looking to make a career change like you, or even just staying in your own field and wanting to move up. A mentor has been so useful to you. You've spent so many hours on the phone with him, just like talking through things, and yeah, I think it's been great.
Yeah, all you know is all you know, and having people that are ahead of the game, even if it's not in an industry that you're wanting to, or a role that you're wanting to go into, just having people that are further down the road than where you are can really shine some much needed perspective into your life.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I think that's all we have time for today. If you have any listener corners, or if you want to send some encouragement to Jordan, you can send those to workinglate.pod@gmail.com, and she will definitely see them. Also, comment below any encouragement you have for her. I think she's going on 2 weeks on like complete bed rest, so she's really going through it, and hopefully we will have babies soon. But yeah, remember to keep going. The work you guys are doing is going to pay off, and we'll see you next week. Bye.